Now in this little cluster here, you'll notice that Arrow Lake is this guy, Casa de Arrow is this one, and then they actually did a little dash magenta line or a dotted line so they kind of clear that up. So they do try and put the names close to the airport, but in the case where it could be a little confusing, like this may be to that one, they actually put a little line there. I do want to jump back over to one here, specifically this Kenosha airspace, because I talked about Class D or Delta being just a single ring, and some people may be confused and say, well, geez, there's another ring right here. That's actually not another airspace ring. That is what's called a VOR. And a VOR is a VHF omnidirectional radio range beacon, essentially. That's a lot to say there. And there just happens to be one located right at the airport. So now us operating UAS aircraft, we're not going to be using VORs, but where a VOR may come in handy when you're taking the test, and here's another one here that's located slightly off the airport. You notice that there's the airport's ring, and then here's the VOR. These are ways that we navigate aircraft across the country. And the way that they work, basically, a VOR is broken up into 360-degree radials. And they basically think of it as like a sunshine, a sun ray, emitting a radial signal out from the center of the VOR. So if I'm flying an airplane or a drone or anything out here, and let's say I was right here where my mouse is, I am on the 030 radial of this particular VOR, which happens to be this walk-on here. And why is that important for us as drone operators? Well, when you're filing a NOTAM, which again may or may not be required depending on where you're operating, when you say I'm going to be flying out, let's say in this little area right here, a lot of times the flight service or the NOTAM taking person will say, well, what's your closest or what's your distance from the nearest nav aid? And a nav aid is something like a VOR. It's a navigational aid. And they may say, well, what's your distance and what radial are you on? Well, you would say, well, I am, X number of miles away and I'm on the 030 radial. Another way that this can be used when you take your test is like I mentioned earlier. They may say, well, what is the approximate runway heading for the Leeward Airport? And because all airports are laid out on the chart in their somewhat magnetic heading, you can come over here and kind of transpose that same angle, in this case 090, 010, 11, 12, and so on. And one of the answers will coincide with that degree of a magnetic heading. So use that as essentially a compass when you're using and answering questions on a sectional chart. For a traditional airplane pilot, this is a special instrument known as a VOR in the aircraft. And essentially what you do is you dial in the nav aid's frequency. In this case, it would be 116.6. You would hear the Morse code dots and dashes to make sure you're on the right frequency. And then you would tune in your dial. We'll put a picture up on the screen right now. You would tune in your dial to get, let's say, to the station. And whatever radial dials in as lined up, that's what radial you are on, and you would just essentially fly towards the station. You can also fly away from the station on a radial. You can also dial in two different radials and do somewhat of a crosshatch navigation to find your point on the map. But again, that gets into some more advanced navigation, and because we're talking about UAS, we're not going to get into that too far. But I did want to describe what a VOR is and why you see some of these rings. But you'll notice that the size of that ring is always the same on the chart. Just know that that is a VOR, and that sometimes they're located right on the airport. And that's why this Class Delta airport, which is really just the dashed line, looks like it has two circles around it. Excuse me. Similar to how a Class C airport has two rings around it. These are actually airspace rings. This is the airspace ring here. This is not. So again, just be clear on that. Now you'll notice that there's also some other airspace here that has what looks like, I'd call it almost a stain on the sectional chart. It's what they call a magenta line, and the sectional has what we would call a soft edge to the line and a hard edge to the line. So if you're operating inside of that soft edge area, that is an area where the airspace, which is known as Class E, goes, the base of that airspace goes down to 700 feet. If you're outside of the hard edge, so if I'm on an airplane right here, Class E airspace starts at 1,200 feet. If I'm on the inside, Class E airspace starts at 700 feet. So it's important to know where controlled airspace starts and stops. And we'll show you kind of a side profile of that. It'll make a little bit more sense. When you're outside of the hard-edged line, so in this case, it almost looks like a snowman here. We've got 3 circles. You notice the inside edge is kind of the faded soft, and this is the hard edge. So if I'm outside, if I'm flying right here, let's say, and we'll zoom in just a little bit on that. So if I'm flying right here, that's an area where Class G, which we call grandpa airspace, that's an area where you don't need a radio, you don't need to talk to anybody, there's essentially no communications with anybody. Grandpa could fly around in his little Piper Cub from the ground all the way up to 1,200 feet. Okay. Now, if he jumps into this area, because now we're starting to get around some other airports, Grandpa can only fly from the ground up to 700 feet, because now we're starting to get into some airspace where there might be airplanes taking off and landing and so on. And then you have to follow, whatever the particular airport's airspace regulations are. So when we talk about those airspaces, we have Class A, which is not depicted on a chart. That's at 18,000 feet and higher. We have Class Bravo or B, which is something similar to like O'Hare, which has a variety of different rings and levels. And again, you'll see those by these little, what looks like fraction numbers. So right at the middle of the airport, they control it from the surface to 10,000 feet. The further away you get more leeway with that ground clearance, because obviously airplanes are coming down from a higher altitude and they're landing at O'Hare. They're not going to be buzzing in at 3,000 feet. So if you're out in this ring, you could operate up to 3,000 feet without talking to them, or over 10,000 feet, which of course we're not going to be at. The further away you get, you have more room because the airspace is actually less restrictive. Right at the airport, you have no leeway. It covers the entire surface to 10,000 feet. So just something to keep in mind. That is Class B airspace. Class C airspace is typically kind of like your regional airport, slightly larger regional, maybe small international airports, like in our case here, Milwaukee Airport. Class C, if you remember what the cranberry color is, cranberry being Class C. Again, for FAA terms, that's actually considered magenta, but I felt it easy to remember B as blueberry and C as cranberry. You might find that useful. Class C, again, is going to be typically 2 rings. The center ring here is from the surface to 4,700 feet, and then the outer ring, depending on which quadrant you're in, could be from, you could operate up to 2,200 feet and then above 4,700 feet. Class D or Delta airspace is that blue dashed line. If you think of the dashed line as D, that's Class Delta. Typically it's a 4-mile circle, and you'll see a square with a number in it. That is how high the airspace goes. So from the surface up to 3,200 in this case. Anything over that, you wouldn't have to communicate with this tower. This particular airport does have a VOR, so it looks like another ring, but that's actually just a VOR located at the airport. Class E is everywhere else that's not in either B, C, or D, and it's either designated with a floor of 700 feet in the case when they're inside the shadowed area, or 1,200 feet when we are outside the hard line. And then Class G is that grandpa area that's kind of everywhere in between. So in all this green area out here would be Class G airspace, up to 1,200 feet. And then it becomes Class E, which then goes from 1,200 all the way up to 18,000 feet. So we'll do some cutaways of the airspace. We're going to show that on a side profile to make a lot more sense. Know that there are a lot of little icons on here. Some of them are pretty self-explanatory. We got railroads, we have power lines, These blue lines here are known as Victor Airways. So this is Victor 63. This is Victor 228. Those typically line up with the heading that you would be flying. So this is 135 this way, this is 228, and so on. Victor Airways are something that's used by aircraft. They're typically common routes between major airports, and they're used for navigation purposes. We talked about the little magenta flag. That is a VFR reporting point, and you'll see those around. Here's one here. So if you said I'm over Verona, an air traffic controller knows exactly where to look for you. If you said I'm over Mount Horeb, they would know where to look for you. We talked about towers. The small tower is an object 1,000 feet or less. The Eiffel Tower looking taller tower is 1,000 foot or higher. The two digits, the two numbers, the bottom number is ground or AGL, so 270 feet this tower is off the ground, but it's 1,469 feet MSL, so above sea level. Again, you're not going to see that number when you're flying your drone. You're going to be taking off from the ground and worrying about, if I'm at 400 feet, am I going to hit this tower or am I going to clear the tower? So that's important to know there. Now in our next section, we're going to be getting into lines of longitude and lines of latitude, also known as meridians and parallels. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty when it comes down to longitude, latitude, getting your coordinates, minutes of angle, all that kind of stuff. We're going to get into that section right now, and we'll get going with that.